If you like to quilt, there is a good chance that you love printed fabrics. There are thousands of designs to choose from, but I bet that most of you do not have any idea how these fabrics are made. My name is Richard Gross, and I have been involved with printing fabric for over 25 years. Please join me on a guided tour of a modern cotton print factory while I explain all the steps involved to prepare, print, and finish the fabric. To begin printed fabric production, you start with what is called gray goods. Raw cotton yarns are woven into the fabric, and after weaving, you have produced a very stiff and dirty product. The fabric is stiff due to the starch and sizing used to stabilize the yarns, and it is dirty since the fibers used to make the yarns have not been cleaned or processed. The gray goods are delivered to the print plant either in the form of square bales of folded fabric or on large rolls that contain 120 to 250 yards of fabric. Printed fabric production is made up of three basic steps: preparation, printing, and finishing. The first step in the preparation process is singeing. Cotton gray fabrics are pretty hairy, and these fabric fibers need to be removed prior to the other production steps. The grayish is put into the singeing machine. The fabric is passed over the brushes to raise the fibers and then goes under a gas flame at a very high rate of speed. The process burns off those surface fibers, and after singeing, the fabric's surface is much smoother than it was before. The next step in the preparation process is scouring. This is a chemical washing process that removes the natural wax and seed fragments from the cotton fibers. The fabric is boiled in an alkaline solution, usually sodium hydroxide, that forms a soap. Oxygen must be excluded from the scouring process, otherwise the chemicals will weaken the cotton fibers themselves. After scouring, the fabric has to go through the desizing process. Like its name implies, this treatment removes the size from the fibers. Size is added to the yarns prior to weaving in order to strengthen the yarns. If no size is added, the yarns are much more brittle and are prone to breaking during weaving. Desizing is accomplished using enzymes that break down the starches and other agents used to size the yarns. Effective enzymatic desizing requires strict control of pH, temperature, and water hardness, or the treatment will not be effective. After scouring and desizing, even the most pure and high-quality cotton fibers will still appear quite yellowish. In order to dye or print, you need to start with a pure white fabric, so that the fabric must now go through the bleaching process. Everyone is familiar with the household chlorine bleaches used in your laundry room. Commercial cotton bleaching is a different process that uses completely different chemistry. Usually, hydrogen peroxide is used for bleaching. The fabric goes through different baths. Each bath increases the concentration of the bleaching agent and temperature of the solution. After bleaching, the fabric is dried on heated metal rolls, and as you can see, this process gives off loads of steam. At the end of the bleaching process, the fabric is much more of a pure white. Two final steps remain in the preparation process, and they are done simultaneously. Mercerization is a process that strengthens the cotton fiber and gives it a more lustrous appearance. It could also shrink the fabric, so at the same time the fabric is passed through a tentering machine. This machine stabilizes the width of the fabric. As you can see, the fabric is stretched between pins on either side of the selvage and passes through a long heated chamber. The factory is a very smoky and steamy place. At this point, you cannot really see more than 50 feet in front of you, and the air is heavy with chemicals. It is hard not to choke. The fabric is washed of all chemicals and passes through another set of heated metal rollers that dry the fabric. At this point, the preparation process is complete and the PFP, or prepared for printing fabric, is ready to be taken to the printing machines. Before heading over to see the fabric being printed, I wanted to give you a brief introduction on screens. There are two types of print machines, rotary and flatbed, and each type uses different screens. The exact process of how screens are made is beyond the scope of this video, but I wanted to show some aspects so you can better understand the printing process when you see them in action while the fabric is being printed. Another important part of the print factory is the color kitchen. This is the area where the dyes are mixed and the colors are matched. The system is computerized, similar to the paint systems found in your local hardware store, but instead of mixing a gallon of paint, these machines mix 50-gallon drums of dye. Finally, we arrive at the area in the factory where the actual printing takes place. This printer is a flatbed printing machine. The screens are flat rectangles, and they usually measure 24 inches from the top to the bottom and are as wide as the fabric width. The bed of the machine has to be quite long in order to accommodate 10 screens or more. This area is where the PFP fabric is placed on the rubber belt. This first screen is putting down black color. The screen is put down on the table, the squeegee moves from side to side and prints the color on the white fabric. The screen is lifted, the squeegee moves back, and the belt moves 24 inches to advance the fabric to the next screen. The next screen is green color. You can see that in addition to black, there is now a small area of green on the fabric. The next screen is a pink color. You can see at this stage, there are now 3 colors on the fabric: black, green, and pink. Next comes purple. You can see the areas on the screen that are purple as opposed to black. Those purple areas are open. The rest of the screen is closed. Dye is only pushed through those open holes, and this is what allows the dye to be applied to the fabric. A lighter green is applied next. This color is printed on top of the darker green and in some surrounding areas to make a light and dark green tonal effect. Next comes a lighter pink. After each screen, the fabric is getting more colorful and less white is showing. A third green is printed next, and afterwards another purple. It is important to make sure all screens are perfectly lined up, otherwise you can have registration problems, where one color bleeds into another or goes out from an outline. After the second purple, a red color is applied. Some screen stations are left empty, as this print does not utilize the maximum colors that can be printed on this machine. Sometimes a drying element is placed in between screens to help dry the fabric, but this pattern does not need one. The next color printed is dark yellow, followed by a light yellow. At this point, all 10 screens have been printed on the fabric: light and dark pink, light, medium, and dark green, light and dark purple, red, and light and dark yellow. The print has a total of 10 printed colors plus the white ground for a total of 11 colors. This machine can print up to 16 colors, and the bed of the machine is very long. For flatbed printing, the longer the machine, the more colors you can print. After printing, the fabric is taken up into a drying unit that will completely dry the fabric prior to being folded and stored in a cart. Another type of printing is called rotary printing. Instead of a flat screen, the screen is rolled into a tube. Rotary printing is used for larger production runs and for designs that cannot be done on flat screens due to technical limitations. This rotary machine can print 15 colors and takes up much less floor space than a similar flatbed machine. The machine runs much faster than a flatbed and has a much higher minimum yardage requirement. Each rotary screen puts a single color on the PFP white fabric. First black, then blue, then red, light blue, orange, yellow, and purple are all applied. Unlike the other fabric, in this case there are no white areas showing, and 100% of the white ground is now covered by color. The fabric is then dried and folded into a cart to await the final finishing process. The first step of the finishing process is steaming. Steaming the reactive dyes fixes them onto the fabric. Unless you steam them, the colors will mostly wash away. The high temperature steam causes the colors to react with the cotton and become permanent. After the steaming is completed, the fabric is taken to what can be described as the world's largest washing machine. The next step in the finishing process is washing. The fabric is run through several washing stations. Each station has a different water temperature and chemical content. As the fabric moves through the washing line, the temperature of the water increases and the amount of chemicals in the bath decreases. The fabric is dipped several times in each washing station. The washing line is another place in the factory that can get very steamy. Washing ensures that all excess dyes are removed and the fabric will meet color fastness standards. Finally, the fabric is dried on large heated metal rolls and folded onto carts that are used to take the fabric to be inspected. No matter how carefully you print fabric, there will always be print and fabric defects. Print defects can be caused by many factors, and there are also weaving defects that were in the greige and passed through all the preparation, printing, and finishing processes. Many factories inspect and roll fabric at the same time. Better factories inspect the fabric first and then roll them for shipping. Rolling is done after the inspection is completed. The fabric is rolled into 60 to 180 yard lengths and are put onto a conveyor belt system that consolidates all the station's rolls and delivers them to an automatic sealing machine. You might be interested to know that this print and dyeing factory employs over 800 workers and produces almost 5 million yards of fabric each month. If you think about it, that's over 330,000 bolts of fabric. Quite a lot to sell. The sealing machine is pretty cool. The roll is wrapped in plastic and lifted up so that the ends are sealed and the rolls are delivered to a worker who places them on large pallets. The rolls will be placed into export cartons and then shipped from Asia to the US to be double enrolled onto bolts and then shipped to your local fabric store. I hope that this short video explained the many different steps taken to produce printed fabric. It is a complex process, but I am hopeful that you now have a good understanding of the production steps involved. Think about them the next time you buy some printed fabric in your local store.
Saking kebat runing prapining rat luhur pinduring pasun Dorawati sang Prabu Ispinara mungging si